there's a strange kind of silence that lives in all of us. Not the peaceful kind, but the heavy, suffocating kind that creeps in when we're alone. The kind that whispers questions we'd rather avoid. Questions like, why do I keep coming back to this habit, this craving, this thing I swore I'd leave behind? Addiction isn't always loud. Sometimes it hides in the quiet, in the scroll just before sleep, in the drink you pour after a long day, in the cigarette that buys you 5 minutes of escape from a life that feels just a little too much. But what if those cravings, the ones we shame, suppress, or deny, were not just problems, but messages? What if they were the soul's way of speaking when every other voice has been ignored? This isn't about blaming yourself. It's about listening more deeply to the shadow behind the habit, the truth beneath the urge. Let's talk about addiction. Not as failure, but as a signal. Not as weakness, but as an invitation. You're watching Mind See, where the mind learns to see. There's something most people never hear about addiction, a truth buried under lectures about willpower and discipline. It's this addiction isn't just about the thing you're reaching for. It's about the thing you're avoiding. We tend to think of addiction as a problem with cigarettes, alcohol, junk food, or scrolling endlessly through apps. But at its core, addiction is a symptom, not the root. It's the outer expression of an inner imbalance. Carl Jung saw it clearly. What we call addiction is often the soul's cry for attention. He once wrote, "People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls. That includes escaping into habits that feel safe, familiar, even if they slowly destroy us." Imagine this. You're lying awake at night. Everyone's asleep. The world is quiet. And then it hits that pull towards something. A drink, a smoke, a video. You know it won't really help. But something inside you reaches anyway, just to feel okay, even for a second. You're not alone. We've all done it. It's not about laziness. It's not that you don't care. It's fear of what you might find if you sit with yourself long enough to really listen. That's where Jung's view flips the usual story. Most people treat cravings like enemies, like a demon you need to fight off. But Jung saw every compulsion as a message, a fragment of your psyche trying to be heard. If you felt whole, truly content, what would there be to escape from? This is the question nobody asks. We try so hard to overpower cravings with force, but very few stop to ask, what is this craving trying to show me? Addiction, at its root, is a language. And if we listen, it speaks. It might be saying, you feel unseen. You're scared. You've locked away parts of yourself for so long they're now knocking louder. Jung called this hidden part the shadow, the collection of everything you've rejected, buried, or denied. Not just the bad stuff, but even the parts of you that felt too vulnerable to reveal. Here's the twist: the more you repress the shadow, just the more power it gains. Addiction is one of the shadow's favorite masks because it promises comfort while quietly feeding off your silence. You think, I'm just tired, I just want to unwind. But underneath that, the shadow whispers, you're failing. You're not enough. You'll always be this way. Sound familiar? That's not you. That's the unspoken wound driving the habit. And what do most of us do when that voice gets loud? We rearrange the mask. We change the diet. We switch apps. We try to out-discipline the discomfort without ever turning around to face it. It doesn't work. It can't. We live in a culture obsessed with control. Just say no. Just be stronger. Just try harder. But if force alone worked, you wouldn't still be stuck. Jung believed that the shadow is not overcome through resistance. It's transformed through awareness. Think about trying to hold a beach ball underwater. You can push it down with all your strength, but eventually it bursts back up. Harder. Faster. That's how most people live, constantly suppressing, denying, fighting their cravings. And then they crash. Again. And blame themselves. Again. But the truth: the craving isn't the enemy. The fight is. Here's where the real shift begins. Next time the urge comes, and it will do something radical, pause. Don't resist it. Don't follow it blindly either. Just observe. Ask yourself, what am I really needing right now? Is this about comfort, distraction, loneliness? This is the birth of self-awareness. The moment you stop being the craving and become the one noticing it. In that gap between urge and action, something powerful happens. You reclaim choice. You begin to separate from the script you've always followed. And even that tiny moment is a crack in the old pattern. It may not feel like much, but it's everything. Most people never get here. They stay too busy, too numb, too afraid of the silence. But you, by simply being curious, are already doing what most avoid for a lifetime. Because curiosity, Jung believed, is the first act of rebellion against unconscious behavior. And when you ask, what have I not felt? What am I still hiding from myself? The answers may hurt, but they begin to heal. Healing doesn't begin with self-punishment. It begins with honesty. It begins with a whisper, I see you. I hear you. I'm not running anymore. There's a reason why this shift from resisting the craving to noticing it is so rare. It requires presence, stillness, and the willingness to feel what most people spend their lives trying to avoid. Jung believed that addiction was never just about the substance or the behavior. It was about the meaning behind it, the ritual, the pattern you unconsciously perform when life gets overwhelming. So when you reach for the drink, the cigarette, the scroll, it's not random. It's a signal, a message from within. And every message starts with a trigger. Stress after a long day, silence before bed, the sting of comparison when you see someone else thriving while you feel like you're stuck. These are the moments when craving arrives not like an enemy, but like a soft whisper, let's not feel this right now. Let's escape. Most people obey that voice without question. But what if instead you listen to it? Not as a command, but as a clue. What if the craving wasn't the problem, but the flashlight? It's not about the cigarette. It's about the ache underneath, the loneliness, the shame, the old story that you're not enough. These feelings aren't comfortable, but they're not trying to hurt you. They're trying to be heard, to be integrated, to be seen. This is where philosophy and psychology begin to overlap. Philosophy teaches us to ask difficult questions, even when the answers shake us. Psychology helps us sit in those answers without running away. So yes, you've heard the advice before. Be strong. Use discipline. Say no. But here's the truth no one says out loud: willpower is limited. Every time you resist an urge, you draw from an internal well. But what happens when that well runs dry? When you're tired, alone, when life hits harder than usual, you fall back into the old patterns. And you think you've failed. Again. But you haven't failed. The method failed you. Jung used a different metaphor. He said the unconscious is like an ocean, and the conscious mind is just a little boat. If all you do is row harder, you'll burn out. But if you learn to read the tides, the patterns, the currents, you can move with far less struggle. That's the real art, learning how to observe your inner world, not fight it. So when the craving shows up, instead of shaming yourself, name it. This is loneliness. This is fear. This is the part of me that wants to be soothed. It sounds almost too simple. But naming is powerful. Naming pulls the urge out of the dark and into the light. It gives you just enough space to pause, and in that pause, you take back your choice. Jung believed that what you can name, you can tame. The more clearly you see your craving, the less control it has over you. Because the goal isn't to kill the craving, it's to understand it. Every urge you feel is tied to a wound, a lost dream, a rejected part of yourself trying to come back home. This is the path of integration, of wholeness. Jung called this process individuation, becoming fully yourself, not by cutting off what's broken, but by embracing what's been ignored. So how do you start this transformation? with truth. Next time you feel the urge rise, don't distract yourself. Don't numb it. Just breathe and ask, what am I avoiding right now? What pain have I buried? What truth have I been afraid to feel? Maybe it's grief, or regret, or the hollow feeling that your life doesn't align with who you really are. Whatever it is, let it surface. Most people run at this point. They tell themselves it's too much, too raw, too scary. But those who stay, gain something rare: self-knowledge, strength, clarity. You don't break addiction by force. You dissolve it with awareness. Every time you feel a craving and choose to observe it instead of obey it, you reclaim a little piece of your power. Not all at once, but moment by moment, day by day. And each act of attention plants a seed. You're not looking for perfection. You're building trust with yourself, slowly, patiently. And that trust will become your foundation, the solid ground beneath your feet. It's a quiet kind of change. You'll notice it when you don't react the same way you used to. When the voice of shame grows quieter. When you begin to sit with discomfort and realize it didn't destroy you. In time, a new voice emerges. One that doesn't judge or punish. A gentler voice. One that says, you're okay. You're safe. You can stay. This is the beginning of self-trust. The moment when the craving stops feeling like a threat and starts to feel like a conversation. The shadow that once haunted you becomes something else: a guide, a teacher. Because here's what most people never realize: the craving isn't just a problem to solve. It's a messenger. It's trying to show you where your power went and how to get it back. The more you listen, the more whole you become. You don't need to silence your pain. You need to understand what it's pointing to. And when you do that, something incredible begins to unfold. You stop being the addict. You stop being the one who's always stuck. And you become someone new: the observer, the transformer, the alchemist. Someone who can feel deeply and still move forward with clarity. Someone who's no longer afraid to see what's been hiding in the dark. There's a concept from ancient alchemy that Jung loved. It said the same fire that burns can also illuminate. That poison, when handled with wisdom, becomes the seed of medicine. Jung didn't believe in quick fixes. He believed in transformation. And transformation, he said, comes not by cutting away the dark parts, but by melting them down, understanding them, and letting them change form in the presence of your awareness. So let's look at craving again. Every time it shows up, it carries a spark: raw energy, emotion, intensity. And most people try to douse that spark as fast as possible. Distract, deny, run. But what if you didn't extinguish it? What if you used it? This is where real change begins, not in removing the craving, but in transmuting it. Craving is energy. And energy can move in many directions. You can let it run in circles, or you can redirect it. You can turn it into something that heals instead of harms. The trick: you need a new ritual. Jung observed that people who broke free from addiction didn't just quit something, they replaced it. They swapped an old pattern for something more meaningful, something rooted in intention, not escape. So the next time you feel the pull, don't waste it. Channel it. If you feel the urge to smoke, use it as a signal to take 5 deep breaths. If you're reaching for your phone, pause and journal one sentence that's brutally honest about what you're feeling. If you feel the need to numb out before sleep, light a candle, sit in silence, and just notice what's going on inside you. It doesn't have to be big, it just has to be real. Small mindful rituals done with presence are how you rewire the story. The craving doesn't disappear overnight, but it becomes something you can work with instead of run from. The more you meet your urges with curiosity, the more you reclaim your power. Not in some dramatic, movie-worthy moment, but in the quiet decisions you make again and again. You begin to change, and slowly so does your identity. You stop calling yourself broken. You stop believing the lie that you're just weak, addicted, or beyond help. You start to see the truth that you're human, whole, capable of holding discomfort without collapsing. And one day, maybe not today, maybe not even soon, but someday you'll feel the craving rise, and you'll smile. Because you'll know it's not something to fear, it's something to learn from. You've shifted. You've become the one who observes instead of obeys, the one who asks questions instead of hides from them, the one who creates instead of escapes. That is alchemy, turning pain into purpose, turning craving into consciousness. This is individuation, not perfection, not self-erasure, but integration, bringing all your forgotten hurting parts home. Addiction reveals where you're divided. The healing journey is about becoming whole again. So how do you know you're on the path? Not by streaks of perfection, but by moments of honesty. When you catch yourself before slipping, when you feel an urge and ask, why now? When you pause even just once and choose something different. That's it, that's the sign. The voice of shame will get quieter. The space between thought and action will get wider. You'll stop running from yourself and start building a relationship with your own mind. You don't have to get it right every time. You just have to keep showing up. That's the hidden gift of the craving. It invites you back to yourself. And here's the part most people never expect: freedom from addiction isn't just the absence of a habit. It's the presence of you, the real you. The self that no longer needs to escape because it's finally allowed to exist. It's quiet, gentle, but powerful. You stop being ruled by your cravings and start becoming someone who listens, reflects, chooses. Someone who doesn't just survive the pain, but transforms it. Carl Jung once said, "I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become." You're already becoming. Right now. With every pause, every honest question, every small act of self-awareness, you're reshaping your story. So here's your final challenge. The next time the urge rises, and it will treat it as a bell. A call to check in with your deepest self. Ask, what do I truly need right now? Is it connection? Is it expression? Is it rest? Is it truth? Then give yourself something real, even if it's small, even if it's messy. Because every time you do, you weaken the old cycle and strengthen the new one. That's the truth addiction tries to hide from you. You are not stuck. You are not lost. You are not broken beyond repair. You are changing right now. And the part of you that stayed through this whole video, the part that listened, that's the part that's waking up. That's the part that can never again be fully controlled by the craving. Because now you see it. And once you've seen it, the shadow loses its power. This is not the end. This is the beginning. The journey of becoming someone who no longer runs, but returns again and again to the truth of who they are. Someone who turns craving into clarity, pain into wisdom, fear into fuel. You don't need to fight anymore. You just need to keep showing up. And you just did. That's everything.